Wow, Lubie, I'm happy that you took this into consideration because I was thinking you would be the hardest guy to move off of this mark. We discussed this briefly yesterday. I'm looking at my alarm clock every morning and thinking, why is this set for 5:30? This is the age of streaming. We're just clinging to an old concept here about morning drive radio that is no longer relevant. People don't even go to work anymore. Now, that was one of the few, if you can take positives away from the COVID-19 period of time, that was one thing, this change, transformation, where there wasn't so much pressure on you to get up in the morning, go flying out of the house, get immersed into just hideous traffic, get all nerved out about driving to work, and by the time you get there, you're a schwitzing, psychotic mess. And then right away, the boss starts screaming at you about something you didn't finish up correctly yesterday, and you just have a miserable day. Here you have a cup of coffee, you pet the dog, maybe even take it for a walk, like you were doing, and you say, wow, life is good.
The time.
Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
That's not what I wanted. Good morning, world. Hello. How are you? I'm well. Nice to see you this Degenerate Friday morning. Yes, the one and only Jeff DeForest is still in Atlantic City, but he's wrapping up his latest stint in his home away from home, the AC. I am here with you. We will have a full Degenerate Friday, so wish me luck, because it's been a fucking zoo in my home this morning. It's so funny. My wife said it yesterday, and it's 100% the truth. I don't like animals. I don't hate them. I don't even like killing bugs. I do it because, it's a fact of life. When they're in your home and your wife's yelling at you, you kill whatever will get her to stop yelling at you. But I'm not a killer. I don't like harming things. I don't like hurting things. But I don't need, to just pay for something to live in my home. Children will eventually do that. I don't need an animal for that. So I'm not a big animal person. We had a dog when I was growing up, and I loved her, Penny, with all my heart. And then when she passed, when I was graduating college, I was like, okay, I'm good. Not that I would never get an animal again, but I'm not in a rush. Like people I know, they do these things where an animal passes and they run to get an animal. I don't know. That's not my family. We weren't like that. I'm not Mr. I see a kitten, good for it. I see a puppy dog, go, enjoy your life. That's not who I am. My wife would rescue everything known to man, from lizard to, she's weird with lizards, from snake to rabbit to horse to elephant to kitten to dog. Any animal, it's her animal. Very different mindset than myself. So knew going into this thing that I was going to have animals in my home. Knew it. We were going to eventually have a cat and a dog. We agreed upon this. I openly accepted it. Anyone who's married, whether it's been a forever one or one that ended, knows this is marriage. It's pretty much coming to agreements on things, and then usually it goes the way of the wife. That's usually what it is. One partner seems to get their way more than the other, whatever your sexuality or genders or whatever. That just seems to be the case. We agreed upon that, which obviously is not what I wanted. I didn't want any animals, but we're going to eventually have two. As you've followed us, we got Cecilia a year or so ago. We love Cecilia, even though she ate metal and almost fucking died and had to have emergency surgery, and it cost us over $7,000. We love Cecilia. And recently, those who follow us, we now have Wolf, and we love Wolf. He's a fucking monster. He is a husky German Shepherd mix, but thinks he's a poodle. It's a great combination. He's all the energy of a husky and wants to sit in your lap like he's a poodle. So this is my life. 2 animals. I knew I'd have it. We're good, right? Well, also, my in-laws have 2 animals, and my in-laws have a cat and a dog, and they're both wonderful. I love Bella, and Max is great. They're wonderful in and of themselves. Problem is, we were always the place they'd go when they'd go away. And that's fine. Cecilia got along with Bella, and Max does his own thing. He's freaking old, and he's a little poodle. It worked out well. Well, now we have Wolf. So it's a goddamn zoo in my house. And Wolf, being the husky who thinks he's a poodle, wants to play with everything. And everything is like, you're big as fuck. Leave me alone. So this is what I've been dealing with for the last day. So wish me luck. I know none of you give a shit, and I get it. but I'm venting to you because I have nowhere else to vent. So I appreciate you listening to me on my pulpit. We will have a full Degenerate Friday, so you won't have to listen to me vent for 2 straight hours. The Greek, the one and the only, will join. We'll be back in the fold. I know he hasn't been on the last couple of weeks. I've been getting texts. What is going on with you guys? Well, I wasn't there. I was in Morocco avoiding earthquakes. So what do you want from me? And eating tagine every meal of the day. The Greek will join us at 7:25. He will have his fun way of handicapping, and we love the Greek, and he's always has great stories. He's always a good time. The professor, the man who knows college football, yes, he's living on the schneid, very directly on the schneid to start this college football season. But the last weekend was ridiculous with everyone. I don't know if any of the favorites, like the high-powered favorites, covered, and it's just been a weird slate of college football. This weekend, there's 6 definitive top 25 matchups. There is a top 10 matchup. There's 7 matchups, if you consider FSU and Clemson, that should be top 25 matchups. And there's like 9 that put, like, I think undefeated teams or 3-0 and 2-1 teams together. It's a tremendous slate. Yes, it's mostly conference matchups. I don't give a shit. The games have been in the last 2 weeks when you go, or 3 weeks when you go into the weekend. So to see a full, great college football slate, I'm geeked up about it. So the professor is doing whatever he does, all his research. He will come with his favorite plays, and he will also have a big board of the week. That's about 7:50. Mark Lawrence is back in the morning fold, championship-winning trend handicapper, so he will join us about 8:25, and we may get a little gambling gourmet action. I know I have to do a no filter, so I invited the gourmet himself. We will see if he joins me. He has covered college football. He's covered more college football than I have. I've been to tons of games. I went to almost every home game at FSU for 5 years. But I haven't really covered it. I went to one FSU Oklahoma game with a press pass. I was not covering it. I was there as a fan going to watch my favorite team for free when I was a graduate. Mayo did. Mayo covered college football. Yeah, he doesn't. I don't think he watched. I think now because of Defo and he watches more. But for years, I don't think he paid any attention to it. And he doesn't really give a shit about it. But we'll have him on, and we'll talk a little food here. We'll cross worlds over. Today is a Friday, so we'll be at Gulfstream Park for the lunchbox. Segredo, I think, is back this Friday with also another legend, the one and only Joey Kornblit. So I know you had that last week when I wasn't here. I think we're going to redo that again. I don't know how often that's happening, but we're going to enjoy it while it lasts. This week at 12 o'clock, the lunchbox, Gulfstream Park. We do our 10 Palms brunch challenge, which, as Mayo jokes about, Defo and I thought it was the stupidest thing ever. It's actually been a massive hit. It goes really well, and people really enjoy it. And it's gotten a lot of people to come out to 10 Palms that never would have thought about it and have now become 10 Palms fans like we are. So it's a lot of fun, that show, and we love being at Gulfstream Park. So check us out at 12. Coming up again in about 10 minutes, I will have the Greek and his fun last night. It's what I said yesterday. Look, what's so funny is the Niners still ended up kicking their ass. I'm responding to Mayo on air. The Niners still end up kicking their ass, but the way the Niners win by playing smart, playing good defense, big plays here and there with Deebo Samuel and Greg and Kittle, and now with McCaffrey. But it's really grinding it out on offense, playing smart on defense, and getting a win. So once it was a 10.5 point spread, to me, it was like, the Niners are going to win this game versus the Giants. The Giants are horrendous. The one Giants win was because the Cardinals are trying to tank and literally tanked in the middle of a game when they were winning by, I think, double digits a lot of that game. Daniel Jones did not deserve that contract. It was a rush. That team is built around Saquon Barkley, but again, they're not wrong for not giving Saquon Barkley a big contract. You can't give a running back a big contract in this day and age as a second contract. You just can't. So they're sort of in a weird place where the only reason they had any success was because of Saquon Barkley. But he is a guy who's already had massive injuries. He's in the second half of his 20s. And it's this day and age where the running back, really, you can only do so much with them financially. I mean, they can lead a team. It's not that they don't. Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, who are both pretty much running backs, were big for the Niners. So you can have a running back lead your team. It's that the durability, the fact that you can find running backs who are very similar at any point in the draft, even undrafted free agents. Miles Sanders was great for the Eagles, and he wasn't a big-time draft pick. So that's the thing. Like, the reason they're winning is Barkley, not Daniel Jones. but you can't give a running back the money. So you give Daniel Jones the sign his 5th-year option and give him a massive extension, even though he didn't deserve it. He's not even a top 15 quarterback. Like at best, he's top 20. And the only reason he's that is because there's not 20 good quarterbacks in the NFL right now. So the Giants are in a weird place. They give Daniel Jones that money, and they're not good. And yes, they were 9-8 last year, and yes, they won a playoff game again. It was fluky. Saquon Barkley, and they caught a Vikings team that had a really good record and wasn't that good. So last night, to me, it screamed the Niners are going to win and win decisively, but the Niners are a team that they can win decisively by 8. Like, just grind it out, win. Like, are they going to go running and hiding by double digits? I don't know. Well, they did. They won 30-12. And it looked close there into the third. The Giants scored a touchdown, missed a win conversion, made it 17-12. And then the Niners just did what the Niners do and extinguished them and slowly but surely kept scoring. And those that question Chubba Purdy, what they don't get, Chubba Purdy, that was FSU's former quarterback, Brock Purdy, his older brother, who is the quarterback for the Niners. Good morning. Those that question Brock Purdy, they don't get it. Like, yes, he's game manager guy, but that's a thing. Game manager guy works great when you have everything. And he's not Ryan Tannehill game manager guy, okay? Ryan Tannehill, to me, people wanted him to be better than game manager, and he wasn't. And he worked when everything worked. But he thought he was more than that, and he's not more than that. He was game manager guy. Brock Purdy is the quintessential game manager guy, but what's interesting about him is if you need him to make a play, he can. He just knows he doesn't have to every play. And that's a scary thing. People that questioned him, I think it's weird because it's a good thing to have a guy that fits in a place and knows what his place is. Like in sports, the teams that win are the teams that don't have the infighting, are the teams that everyone knows their role and plays their role exceptionally. And that's the Niners. Like their defensive line is ridiculous. Their linebackers, their secondary, their offensive line is strong. They have 3 guys who at their position are all top 3 to 4 at their position. And then they have a quarterback who's like, okay, fuck it. Go. I'll just give the ball around. It's a really good point. It's like John Stockton. Everyone questioned, he didn't score a lot. Yeah, you know why? Because he passed as well as anyone in the league, and he didn't need to score a lot. But John Stockton, if he needed to get a bucket, he could. That feels to me like Brock Purdy. I don't know if he's John Stockton level, good, but I know he's better than what people gave him credit. What is Brock Purdy? A guy that if he's healthy would have won a Super Bowl last year. Like literally, he tore his goddamn ulnar like a pitcher. Was still playing, couldn't throw the ball, and the game was close versus the Eagles, who are a really good team. Like, that's what the Niners are. So that's the thing. A lot of these people around the league, the Dolphins, I think, are legit. They're a really fun team. The Bills are interesting. If the Bengals could figure shit out, the Bengals are really good. The Chiefs, defending champions. They've had their issues early in the season. These are all really good teams. The Eagles, defending NFC champions, really good team. I don't know if any of them have a shot versus the Niners if they can just stay healthy. If Shanahan can stay out of the way, because that's the problem. Kyle Shanahan's one of these, and Defo talks about it all the time. Don't get too cute. He's the king of getting too cute. He's the king of when everything's right in front of you. Okay, I just need to run it. The clock's at 3 minutes. We have a touchdown lead. We have the ball. Game's over. I'm going to chuck it for no fucking reason. That's Kyle Shanahan, and he's done it multiple times now in Super Bowls as an offensive coordinator and a head coach. So that's the only thing is the Kyle Shanahan factor. He's a great coach. John Lynch has done a really good job with putting that roster together. They work really well together. Shanahan can get them lots of wins, even winning in the playoffs. But on the biggest stage, he brain farts. Last year, that wasn't the case. They were just hurt. This team is so good. I feel like even Shanahan will get the hell out of the way. Good morning, everybody. But that's what you saw last night. Look, the Giants last year was an aberration. And I like Dable. I think Dable's a good coach. I just don't. Their offensive line's not good. Their defensive line's solid, but you can't win with just a defensive line. Like teams will figure it out. Their secondary is okay. The linebackers are okay. The quarterback is below average. The running back's great, but he's banged up again. Saquon Barkley. Like Giants are a nice team, but that division is the Eagles to lose, and the Cowboys look for real. So the Giants and the Commanders, who both are interesting teams, are going to struggle in that division and are going to struggle in the NFC, which may be better than we thought. The Rams, I think, are going to resurge. The Seahawks are decent. The Niners are the cream of the crop. Green Bay is a little interesting. The Bucs are 2-0 for now. So the NFC may not be as horrible as people thought. Last night went as the way I thought it would, and the Niners to me are the team to beat. I don't care what power ranking you look at. I love the Dolphins, and I think they're fun. I think they have talent on both sides of the ball, and I think the defense will figure it out. And I think the offense is going to be explosive, and I think Tua's finally going to, if he can stay healthy, which is look, he's not even taking hits right now. Knock on wood. I think Tua's going to showcase finally. Just leave me the fuck alone. Herbert, me. I don't. You can say whatever you want. I belong in this league. I'm a top 5, top 10 quarterback. The debates are stupid. The Chargers got their guy. The Bengals got their guy. The Dolphins got their guy. I believe that wholeheartedly. I do think the Dolphins will get to the playoffs. I do think they'll win a playoff game this year. But I don't. It's really hard for me to see anyone. To me, it's like the Nuggets. I think the Niners and the Nuggets are very similar. They're very quiet. They go about their business. They all get along. They like each other. There's no contract squabbling. Their best player possibly in either Samuel or Kittle do their own thing. They're team guys. It's just injury. Samuel tends to get hurt. Purdy coming off a massive injury. Kittle gets hurt a lot. Like McCaffrey gets hurt a lot, and that's the same thing with the Nuggets. Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, and Jamal Murray get hurt. When they're healthy, no one's beating them. They're just not. But the rest of the league, the one positive for them is, will they be healthy? So Niners put on display last night, another showcase. They are the best team in football right now. We have a whole slate of NFL action. It's not great. What's great is Saturday is going to be fucking amazing. Saturday, 12 to 1 in the morning, because there's games at USC plays at 10:30 and Washington plays at 10:30. So games are going to be going till Eastern time, 1, 2 in the morning. So you have all action all day. Sunday, there's not a lot of great games. It's the NFL, so we'll watch, but it's not a lot of great games. So I'm looking forward to this weekend of football action. I know our handicappers are looking forward to it. Coming up in about 3 minutes, we will talk with the one and only Greek. Following that, we'll have another one. I guess not everyone can be one and only, but to me they are. We'll have the one and only Greek, the man, the myth, the legend, the professor, and champion himself, trend handicapper, Mark Lawrence, back to back, a full slate of the Degenerate Friday action for you. I do appreciate everyone tuning in. I appreciate all the people chiming in on the chat. The Bears are a fucking disaster. Oh my God. And what's so funny about the Bears is I will say this, it's why I don't feel bad about the Herbert Tua stuff, because I liked Herbert out of Oregon. Cristobal just kept him in a goddamn cage. I just thought Tua was a better quarterback, and he is. He's actually showing that. Herbert's more prototype. Herbert's big, strong, arm, yay, whatever. Tua, quicker release, gets rid of it quicker, makes better decisions, way more accurate, which is why the Dolphins drafted him, and it's why the Chargers would have drafted him if they had the opportunity. I like Justin Fields more than both of them. I thought Lawrence and Fields were ridiculous, and Lawrence is slowly showing it. Fields, it's weird. Look, the Bears are a disaster. They haven't been able to acquire talent at all, and they haven't put the right system around him. But the fact that the running thing is something he needs is scary. Like, it's okay to be able to run. It's good to be able to run, but to have to run to succeed, eventually defenses, it's like Lamar Jackson. Eventually, you're not going to win on the biggest stage. Defenses will stop it, and you're going to get hurt. It's a combination of defenses will stop it, and you run enough, you're going to get hit. I don't give a shit. You can be Russell Wilson. You can be whatever, sliding, getting out of bounds. You keep running with the ball in your hands. They're allowed to hit you, and they will. And that's the issue for the Bears. I like Fields a lot. I really did. Big, strong arm, pretty accurate, actually, can run. But the Ohio State system, it's now a trend. Guys are so open, the lines are so good, and they're just one read and throw. They don't really have you go through progressions that it does not set up quarterbacks for the NFL. It just doesn't. And it's Braxton Miller, JT Barrett, Dwayne Haskins, God rest his soul, Cardell Jones, CJ Stroud, and now Justin Fields, and then CJ Stroud. All guys can do everything when you watch them, but being in that system, they get to the league and they are like a chicken with their head cut off. They have no idea what to do. And Fields this weekend was just that. They want him to play a certain way, and he literally was just sitting there locked. And as of yet, none of the Ohio State guys have figured it out. We'll see if Fields can. I like the kid. I thought he had a ton of talent. He almost went to Florida State if Jimbo didn't suck ass and just stop recruiting him, because Florida State he was visiting Florida State like once a month before Jimbo became a dickhead. And then he went to Georgia, and then he went to Ohio State, Justin Fields. I feel bad for Bears fans. Their organization doesn't know how to surround a guy like that, of that talent, and give him the right system. And I don't know if they will. He's on, like, I think his third offensive coordinator already. So I wish the Bears fans luck. I appreciate Julian coming out of New York. He's, for some reason, a Bears fan. It's going to be a long season, I think, for them. But it'll be a fun day for you, as we have a full slate of Degenerate Friday fun coming up next here. The Defo Show. No Defo, finishing up his stint in Atlantic City. Just me, Mike Lubie, here on South Florida Live.
Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Are you looking to buy your first home? Have you been turned down for a loan? Do you need to refinance or get money out of your home? Call Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. He's been helping the South Florida community get mortgages for 30 years.
Hi, this is Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. We have the most competitive fixed rates in the market. Call me 24/7, 561-441-2730. And remember, I don't just work banking hours. To make the right choice for your home, call Choice Mortgage today.
You can't fake caring. Women can sense this immediately. You don't really care. You didn't really want to do any of this.
We now return to the Defo Show.
All right, welcome back, one and all, to this week's edition of Degenerate Friday. We kick it off right now with a man we adore. I presume you've grown to adore. It's hard not to love this man. One and only Greek joins me this morning. Good morning, great one. How are you, my friend?
Lubie, what's up, buddy, on a Friday? And Defo's in Atlantic City fishing?
Yeah, I'm sure, fishing for dollars.
Oh, my God. I've never seen somebody like, we got to check his temperature. I've never seen somebody go back to Atlantic City twice, let alone the way he goes.
He goes like on a
whether it's free or not.
Well,
I would fly over Atlantic City.
That's the question. Okay, so we were talking about it. Defo was talking about it, like places you hear the name, like when people are like, I would never go there, or this place sucks. It's like this. I know you always bring up Cleveland. You're a Jersey guy at heart, but it feels like you carry some kind of an issue with Atlantic City. I've never been there, but Defo seems to love it.
Well, it's not a bad place, and that's it. It's just not my cup of tea. That's all. You know what I mean? I'm used to Vegas. You know, the beaches are, like I said, the beach in Atlantic City looks like Saving Private Ryan. So, I mean, I've said that before. I mean, it's not like it's, you know, down here, Miami, Fort Lauderdale. But, yeah, it's a different city. It's rough. You know, years ago, I got robbed down there.
Oh, geez.
It's a tough city. It's tough. I mean, you know, the dogs carry guns. So it's a tough place. The casinos, I guess, you know, they've rebuilt them and everything. But he likes it because he's getting a free ride.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I mean, yes. I mean, he's not going to Atlantic City if it's on his dime.
No, but that's what I'm saying. I feel like
if it's on his dime.
I feel like even if it was free, you still wouldn't go, though. Like, it can be
Probably
free.
Probably not. Probably, I'd be like, nah. Okay. I'm in mind going down maybe for the sports betting.
Yeah.
You know, maybe I would go down there for a weekend for that. You know, my friends have talked about it, but I don't know. See, it's for Atlantic City for my family, which I don't have much family left. It's about 3 hours away. So
okay.
like if I went down there, because my friends fly in sometimes on Spirit, which I would never fly on, and they fly into Atlantic City, and they're there and they stay for the weekend and they bet all weekend and stuff like that. But I don't know, maybe one weekend, we'll see. Who knows?
All right, so you said a key thing there, and we had another, I think, big decision this week go the way of the Seminoles, but I know there's something else in regard to the app that's still hanging out there, so that's why we still may not see anything. But I know for years you assumed almost that we were getting sports betting, and then recently you had changed your tune and you were a little frustrated. It feels like things are snowballing in the right direction finally. Like, what are you? I know you have ears and eyes everywhere. Have you heard anything?
It's right now it's in the Supreme Court, so the Supreme Court can decide a year from now not to hear it, or 6 months from now not to hear it, or they could rule in favor and say, no, you can't have sports betting. It's on hold. There's a lot of speculation that sports betting was going to start this week, and that was just internet rumors and people on social media, but there's nothing behind it. And, the other side appealed at the 11th hour, so now it's in the Supreme Court. Now, the Supreme Court can go next week, make an announcement and say, we're not going to even hear this case, and then we get sports betting the next day. Or they might say we're going to hear it, and we might hear it a year from now or 2 years from now. They have no agenda. They don't have to be on any clock when the case reaches the Supreme Court. I've looked into this exclusive, a lot, because I think it'd be great for the state, and obviously great for our business. But as of now, it's a dead standstill. So
yeah, it's just so stupid. The whole thing's stupid. But
yeah, it's just one of those things, and they don't want the Seminoles to have a monopoly. And to me, it's a little late. They got a monopoly already.
Yeah.
It's like you're at the casino and you're down 9,500. You're like, I didn't want to lose 10,000. Does it really matter?
What the fuck?
Another 500? I mean, they're like, they don't want to give monopoly. They got everything. So we'll see. I mean, you never know. The Supreme Court might surprise us in a month and say, hey, I don't think they're going to go against the 3 judges that found out that the first ruling was wrong. But you never know. And Hard Rock doesn't want to turn it on because they might feel like, hey, we don't want to turn it on because we don't want to turn it off. But I think it's more they don't want the Supreme Court to look at them like they're cocky and, they can do whatever they want. So we'll see. Maybe 6 months we hear from it. Maybe we don't. I don't know.
All right. Well,
right now it's a limbo.
It is. I just wanted, because you said it, the internet was buzzing and people were predicting this and that. And I was like, I haven't seen anything. Like no one's.
No, I mean, that's just people starting rumors who don't really know anything about anything. They just start them. Today's media, you can say anything. You don't have sources.
100%.
I mean, we've seen it a million times. Sports, politics, entertainment. I mean, years ago, there was a lot of, reputable people doing it. Now you just say sources say.
Yep.
Rogers is coming back in December. What sources? An Uber driver? I mean, they don't even have named sources. So it's a different time. We'll see. But there's a great college football games this weekend.
No, this.
I want to talk about Colorado State last week. That how much money that made for this country, millions and millions of dollars at sports bars, restaurants, places. Everybody watched that game. It was a record. 9.3 million people watching it at 10 o'clock, highest ever in ESPN history for a 10 o'clock slot. And love him or not, with Dion, you know what? He fills seats and he's got a personality. And he's doing a good job. He's got a big test this week. If they beat Oregon this week, run for president.
Well, I'm curious because it's funny, like 2 weeks, they were the talk of the town. So you figured this game would, and the professor was coming on later. We were talking about it. He was hoping for this game to be, because all that pub was behind Colorado, that this would be like anywhere from a 9 to a 12-point game. They then struggled in Colorado State, setting this up to be now it's at, I think, 21 and a hook or something.
Yeah, 21 bucks.
Yeah, so that's why it's almost, you have to go sort of the other way. Even I don't believe Colorado's even going to be in this game, but 21 points is sort of ridiculous. The slate is.
Yeah, I would bet the over in that game. I wouldn't bet the game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The over 71. When overs are 70, 68, the average guy gets scared. That's when you bet the over. Smoke a cigar and just hang out.
I mean, that, yeah.
I have a star. I have a 5-star pick for you.
Oh, yeah?
And that's
Okay.
Mississippi +7 over Alabama.
Okay, so not money line, so taking the point, because it feels like that's the thing. It feels like everyone just sees the name Alabama but hasn't watched them play.
Yeah, Alabama's defense is not what it once was. That's the first thing. They don't have a quarterback. That's the second thing. And and they got a chance that they can lose the game, in my opinion. But I like Mississippi +7.
All right, any other steam in the college? Because it is, after 3 slates that sucked ass, it's literally, you can just sit in the cigar lounge all day and watch college football kind of a day. There's so many games all day long. Any other college football steam?
I would lean toward your team, Florida State.
I'm right there.
Hold on one second. 20-7. And then I would definitely take touchdown Jesus that night, getting 3 from Ohio State. You get that?
Yeah, I'm getting it right now. -2.
Lube?
Yeah, I'm just putting it down right now. I want to make sure, because we're going to do a no filter later too, and I want to make sure we get it out to the people here and we get out to people there. The Greeks plays. Greek always kicks ass. All right. The NFL card is not anywhere near as good as the college football card. I was trying to find any matchup that intrigued me, and I couldn't do it. So I put it to you. Do you have any NFL games that you're looking at?
Number 12. I made a mistake. I'm sorry. I told you 7.
We're getting gas here.
Thank you. No, I'm at the track, actually. Okay?
I was going to say, it could be the track.
I mean, there's a couple good games, obviously. I think the Browns bounce back. Patriots have beaten the Jets 14 times in a row. I mean, that's a big thing. And I think they end up beating them again because Zach Wilson sucks. I mean, he really does. I mean, I'd rather have one of the Kardashians for them. He's terrible. He really is. I mean, Rodgers. And then yesterday, big thing with Diggs getting hurt for the Cowboys.
Yeah, what was that? That sucks when guys get hurt in practice, because they have to practice, but it's like, oh my God. Like, that sucks.
Well, whether they get hurt in practice or the game, it sucks when it's an injury that's going to keep a guy out for the year.
Yep.
He's an all-pro cornerback. I mean, everybody. I see Dallas, Niners, and Philly in the NFC. AFC's wide open, and I think when it's all said and done, the Kansas City, Taylor Swift, Chiefs will be in the Super Bowl again.
I think the Niners are scary. I know people don't trust Purdy, but I think they are so loaded.
I don't know why.
I think they're so loaded. That guy knows his role and he stays the hell out of the way. And I think that's important when you have a team that talented.
Purdy's great. I mean, he hasn't lost. It's like Jimmy G when they had him. Like, the public gets these scenarios like they don't like people or they don't think they're the prototype quarterback. All the guy does is win.
Yep.
And now I know he looks like he should work at Apple and focus on more. But he wins. That's all he does is win. He's undefeated in the regular season. Even his coach last night, like Shanahan, I think he was sniffing Michael. He goes, "Oh, he could have been better." Threw for 300 yards. I mean, they're playing the Giants. Like, what do you want? The kid to go, 35 for 35? So I think the expectations are too high on that kid. I mean, I really do. I mean, you look at the NFL quarterbacks right now, there are 32 teams. There's not a lot of good quarterbacks.
There's like 8.
I mean, maybe 12 of them, 15
maybe
that are really good. And it shows you with the 49ers with this kid, the scouts make mistakes.
Yep.
I mean, this kid was the last pick in the draft, and he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Somebody messed up.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
I mean, right or wrong. I mean, there's something where somebody's got a talent, and you give it to him. Yeah, he's got a good team, but he's very poised. And last year, in the championship game, if he didn't get hurt, they might have beat Philly.
Well, and that's the thing is, look, when they're like, he just wins, and they say it about Tim Tebow, I get it. You watch Tim Tebow play, you're like, yeah, they're winning in spite of Tim Tebow. Like, the dude threw punts. But that's not what Purdy's doing. Purdy is staying out of the way until they need him, and then he makes big play after big play. He did it all the second half of last year. So that's my thing, is having a guy that knows how to stay out of the way is huge.
But you can't compare him to Tebow. Tebow,
exactly.
Tebow this kid doesn't make mistakes. He's got such presence.
Yep.
It's just that he doesn't look good. He's a short guy. He's not tall. He's quiet. And like I said, if you see him, you think he works at Apple. But the kid all he does is throw rocks. I mean, he don't miss. I mean, he really doesn't. And he had a lot. Even last night, touchdown pass, he's getting pressure. You know, I think he's a very good quarterback. And like I said, you know, these scouts get paid millions of dollars, and they miss them. You know, and then there's other guys that they, you know, are so highly. Look at those last five quarterbacks from Ohio State, all good quarterbacks that they got, and in the pros, they don't do anything.
Yep.
I mean, so a lot of times it's, you know, giving a guy a chance. I mean, you don't have to think any more than the guy who's won 7 Super Bowls, Brady.
Yep.
I mean, you know, like, and scouts do make mistakes, but I think the Niners and Eagles are off a little this year, though. You can see it a little. There's, you know, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator new. That's a couple guys left free agency. But I think the Niners are the best team. And I think Dallas is good, but Niners have better playmakers on offense.
That's the thing. The Dallas, bless you. Yeah. Micah Parsons is a man amongst boys. He really is. Like, those who watch Lawrence Taylor, people hate doing it, and I don't put anyone in Lawrence Taylor's class. But he reminds you, like, the guy's just everywhere. They double teaming him. It doesn't freaking matter. But I don't trust the Cowboys offense compared to the Niners. That's what's so funny about, like, Dak Prescott is this guy that people love, but whenever he has to make the plays, he doesn't. Like, Purdy does. I don't know. There's something about that team, the Niners, to me.
Purdy does, but Purdy's got more playmakers.
Way more.
McCaffrey is like giving McCaffrey to the Niners was like giving the Kardashians another sister. I mean, it was just unfair. It really was. He is a stud. I mean, he really is. And his girlfriend's super hot. Debo, they got the wide receiver, another all-pro. I mean, the tight end they don't even talk about. Yep. I mean, they're stacked. They got the other receiver. They're a good team. I mean, and they've got a good front office. Defensively, they're strong. They're the shortest odds right now in Vegas. They're 5.5 to 1 to win it all.
Okay, yeah. I was going to ask that because these stupid power rankings every week, because the Niners just go about their business and they don't worry about annihilating teams, would have them like 4 or 5. And I'm like, you haven't watched fucking football. Like, the Niners are clearly the best team in the league. So I was curious if the Sharps.
Yeah, I think the Niners, and like I said, then I would put Dallas and the Eagles. And the AFC, the Chiefs. And then Cincinnati's got problems with Burrow right now. They're 0-2. The Chargers are 0-2, so they got some problems too. The Jets lost Rodgers. That's big. The Dolphins are strong. I mean, the Dolphins were 24 to 1 opening day to win the Super Bowl. Now they're 11 to 1.
Oh wow!
yeah, they dropped. Miami's strong. There's no doubt about it. The only thing, like with Miami, is their secondary is not great.
No.
Just not. I mean, Howard's an all-pro, but he's been not doing well. They lost Ramsey. Their defense, even when they played New England last week, they could have lost that game. Couple big turnovers, and the Patriots came down the last drive, and they had a chance. This week they got Denver. Denver's 0-2. You got to be careful when you play 0-2 teams. They got nothing to lose. Miami's laying 6. But I think Detroit bounces back, and the Browns. Both of those teams, I think, bounce back and win.
Okay, so Detroit as well. All right. Well, we love you, Greek. You are the man. Thank you for doing this, and sorry for the confusion the last couple of weeks, but we are here, and we'll be here every single week.
Yeah, you guys are in Morocco, and big shot. I mean, you got a lot going on. You're like Taylor Swift. You're all over the place. I mean, I can't spell Morocco. I mean, I don't even know how you spell it. What the hell did you do out there? Did you go with the wife?
Well, of course, went with the wife. We did a lot. We did one of these tours. So we literally saw like 4 cities a day for 10 days. I'm sure it was your dream. With all these people in like a coach driving all around the country. There was an earthquake that we avoided, thank God. So yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed it. But yes, I'm very happy to be back talking football with you.
It's amazing. You work for iHeart and you couldn't go to like Wynwood. And now you're gone, and you're going to Morocco. What does that tell you?
I'll leave it alone since you still work for iHeart, so we won't get you in any trouble. We love you, Greek man. Thank you for your plays.
I love you, bro. Keep in touch.
We will talk and enjoy the football weekend.
All right, pal. Peace.
The one and only Greek. We love him. He does a great job with us each and every week. He knows his stuff, and he's a lot of fun, and he does have the inside on a lot of the stuff. I don't know what's happening there. It's really annoying because this state, like, it never used to be this backward ass. Like, yeah, we were like, we had our areas, but Florida wasn't with some of the West Virginia, like some of these states you think backward, whatever word you want to use. Like Florida wasn't that most of my life. And now it's like every state is like, oh, Florida, like gambling. We have gambling entities all over the state. Like, why would you not have sports wagering? It's making billions in other places. And the big cities, New York, I think California has it. Like all these areas are New York, New Jersey is kicking ass. Like it's making so much money. Like it's such a waste to not have legalized sports wagering down here. It just makes no sense to me at all. I don't know. A man that agrees with that sentiment and does lots of sports wagering on his own, and we appreciate his sentiments on the college football world, and we love his big board top 5 each and every week. The professor will join me next. Defo again is in AC. Mike Mayo will have a lunchbox today talking about sports wagering. Horse racing's home for us down here in South Florida. Gulfstream Park, 12 o'clock. Mike Mayo's lunchbox. Check that out. When I get back, I will be talking to the one and only, another one and only, another football handicapping legend. The professor will join me next, talking college football and his big board top 5 here. The Defo Show, no Defo, just Lubie on South Florida Live.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
If Brian Flores had just kept his mouth shut, collected his $100,000 per loss checks,
Very
and
true.
done his job. That was what you were hired for, asshole. You weren't down here to compete. You weren't down here to try to win games. You were hired to lose games so we could get the number 1 pick in the draft, you piece of trash. And then you've got the nerve to sue your boss because you refused to lose your boss's instruction. And you know what? I hope you stay with the Pittsburgh Steelers, because I hope Joe Burrow kicks your ass twice a year for the rest of your life, because that's what you deserve for not doing your job, you piece of garbage.
Well stated, Professor. All right, I can't even imagine where we're going with number 1.
Honestly, can you imagine if you're the Arizona Cardinals right now and you are getting ready to possibly hire this man as your head coach? If I'm Kyler Murray's agent, I'm calling the Cardinals front office and say, that's fine. Trade my client right fucking now. Do not put this bum anywhere near my player who you just signed for $200 million. Do not put this piece of garbage. If I see Ryan Fitzpatrick in Las Vegas because it's 100 miles from Phoenix, I want everybody in the front office fired or my client out of this franchise.
The best way to kick off your day is with Defo plus Lubie. We now return to the Defo Show.
We should call this gentleman the soothsayer, actually, because he's the one that on day 1 saw right through Brian Flores' plan to ruin Tua Tagovailoa. And if you've noticed, since Flores is gone, all Tua's done is soar to new heights. He shouldn't be the professor, should be the soothsayer. He knew what Brian Flores was setting out to do. And if not for his own stupidity, Brian Flores probably would have been able to do it, because if he had taken that $100,000, he'd still have a job probably.
I mean, and plus, look what happens. The Pittsburgh Steelers missed the playoffs for the first time in 100,000 years. Him as their defensive coordinator. Now you get the Minnesota Vikings. Kirk Cousins is on pace to smash every passing record in the history of the NFL. Kirk Cousins is like Peyton who, and the Minnesota Vikings can't win a ball game. So, you might want to call that a coincidence. But now this jackass clearly knows how to lose football games after not being able to figure it out for a couple of years down here in Miami. So, again, nice job, Brian. How's that lawsuit working, jerk off?
And the Dolphins have only gotten better since he's left. This is the Professor. We will talk. It's a fantastic college football slate. After the first 3 weeks from week 0 on have been dreadful. Yes, the games ended up being interesting last week, but the slate itself going in sucked. It's all day long tomorrow. So we're going to talk lots of college football, and we will obviously have a big board top 5 this week. I did want to get right to it with you. I mean, the games from 12 o'clock on are just fantastic. I know you were.
Let's hope so. Let's hope I can finally pick a freaking winner, because I haven't been able to find my ass with both hands for the first 3 weeks. So maybe we'll be able to, with a good slate, be able to get things going. But yeah, it's the week. Unfortunately, we've had to wait almost a month for. Yep. This is what used to be week 1 prior to the playoff coming in. And that's something, if you want to talk about, we called like 10 years ago on a college football show that I'm pretty sure Lubie, who was running the board, was the only person who was listening to at the time. But we pretty much called this like a decade ago when the playoff first started to gain serious momentum, that this is what it was going to do to the out-of-conference scheduling. And, it is our sincere hope with the expansion of the playoff next season that we're going to start to get more weeks like this become a common thing in week 1. But, thank you, Pac-12, for being kind of awesome this year after, I've been the biggest East Coast Pac-12 fan for a long time now. I think the whole country's sort of caught up to it, because the Pac-12 really is the backbone of an awesome week of college football.
Well, and that's the thing is, even like you and I were going down the list of great quarterbacks, and they all seem to be in the Pac-12 this year. I mean, I guess if you want to put Jordan Travis there and Drake May, of course. Outside of that, every single.
I like how you just randomly threw Jordan Travis.
We're going
to ignore Jaden Daniels. We're going to ignore everybody else. We're going to put in Jordan Travis. That's nice.
Travis, Drake May, and then I was going to say Quinn Ewers. Like those seem to be the 3 outliers.
You're not a Jackson Dart fan?
Well, he's coming on. I was going to ask you, what do you do with the
you don't have Sam Hartman's junk in your mouth like the entire country does?
I don't know. I just feel like Penix Jr., Caleb Williams, Bo Nix. Like it feels like they've set this weird standard this year.
I agree. And that's what I'm getting into Cam Ward and DJ Uiagalelei. Cam Rising hasn't even played a game this year, although it looks like he might play Saturday. That seems to be the way the gambling gods are predicting. So, yeah, I mean, the Pac-12 is loaded with quarterbacks. Actually, the whole country really is loaded with quarterbacks. This is setting up to be potentially, depending on who goes and who doesn't, one of the best quarterback classes. I mean, honestly, it's lining up to be that class a few years ago that they thought they were getting, only Trey Lance didn't play football for 2 years, and Mac Jones sucks, but everybody thought he was good for some reason because they have, Bill Belichick on the brain and didn't realize.
Sucks. Yeah, that class was supposed to be great, yeah.
Anyway, it looks like this class could be what that class was supposed to be.
Yeah, they're not all in the Pac-12. You just named like 5 guys. But I'm just saying, like, it just feels like when you watch, like, even Washington State, you just said it. Like, Washington State has a nice quarterback. Like, that whole freaking conference. Look, Arizona State's quarterback.
And we haven't even talked about Shader Sanders, who's, the guy everybody in the country's obsessed with.
The legend.
I mean, look, as much as I hated on him coming out of Jackson State, he's actually been really good. He's creepy accurate. And again, we're ignoring other guys. Dylan Gabriel is off to an amazing freaking start. Now they've played nobody so far. The first real test of the year, Cincinnati coming up at noon. But this is a guy, 300 yards a game, 11 touchdowns in 3 games, and he's completing 83% of his passes so far this season. So, we're at the quarterback position, phenomenally deep so far this year.
Well, and what's funny is you brought up, I'll give you credit because you're the only person doing it. The conference that usually reigns supreme in college football is right now supposedly maybe the worst or amongst the worst in quarterback play, but you found the 3 guys that have actually been pretty strong. Jaden Daniels at the end of that FSU game, and then from that point on has been great again.
For some reason, when they play FSU, they can't show up until the 4th quarter. Yeah. They did it 2 years in a row. It's bizarre.
Yeah. And then he's been great since, and LSU's been great since. Jackson Dart and Ole Miss is starting to find their legs. And Jackson Dart, you said this like last year, the problem with him, it was his first year in that system. And you were wondering what he'd be in year 2. And he's
another guy who was a monster recruit coming out of high school, kind of got caught in a log jam there at USC when Keaton Slovis, a guy who was really probably the lightest recruited USC quarterback of the last 20 years, managed to sort of grab the position. Dart ended up at Ole Miss under Lane Kiffin, who has been a QB guru through the years. So hey, I can't hate on the way he's played through a few games, and obviously the running back is super solid. And that takes us to another matchup with Alabama, which I think is honestly one of the most interesting of the week here, because you can't say the word hot seat with Nick Saban, but like, I mean, the last 2 years, does it look like Alabama has significantly fallen off? It really does. Like you have to wonder what Alabama. I mean, we kidded about it last year, but Alabama without Bryce Young was probably a 5-loss team last year, and it's not out of the question that they could be one this year.
Well, because that's the thing is like the quarterback play across the conference is sort of down, but there's still, if you look at some of these teams, Arkansas seems to be finding its way again. Pittman was great the first couple of years, and then last year they sort of fell off. South Carolina, you never know with them. Georgia's still freaking great. Tennessee, I know you're all in last week on, and they sort of let both of us down as they let the Gators romp. So I don't know what the fuck to do with Tennessee. The SEC is in flux.
Play some fucking defense would be a good start. Like the Gator running game that hasn't been able to get going in 5 years, all of a sudden looked like Mr. Inside and Mr. Outside with Army back in the 40s against Tennessee. I mean, what did they have? They had like 9 drives or 15 plays or more. It was insane.
But what's interesting is Alabama seems to be the one team that's really hasn't shown any flashes yet. Like all these teams, Ole Miss, even though it's not like they've dominated, has shown flashes. Like it's hard to, and that's why the line's where it is. Ole Miss has played better so far, but it's Alabama. So you know everyone's scared to do this. It's like the Patriot thing where you're scared to be the person to say they're done. I don't think they're done, obviously, but it feels like they're not what they were, but people are scared to say that, which is
I think people are particularly scared to say it because they're playing Ole Miss. Like this has been a spot, particularly at Alabama, where Ole Miss has shit the bed over and over and over again, pretty much through the history of college football, but particularly the last 2 or 3 coaches. So if we get a game where Lane Kiffin mysteriously goes for it on 4th down like 9 times throughout and 6 of them are just retarded level. It's like 4th and 8 from my own 39, but I'm going to go for it. Like if Lane Kiffin just goes full moron this game, I don't think anybody's going to be stunned, and Alabama walks out with like a 21-point victory. I don't think anybody's going to be shocked by that. It would sort of be the storyline from a couple of years ago in this game. That's why the number's where it is, sitting at 7. Although, look at the way these two teams have played through 3 games. Ole Miss, you can say what you want about their early season schedule, but Tulane's a fairly legitimate game. So, it hasn't been that bad, and they have obviously looked a lot stronger than Alabama coming into this one. So a little bit of a mystery to a lot of people why they are getting 7 in this spot.
Okay, but where are you? Because I know we both talked about this. We both are leaning the same way, but neither of us would definitively make this.
I mean, with the way Alabama's offense has looked through 3 weeks, you'd have to take 7 with just about anybody against them, right? I mean, anybody in the SEC, maybe not Vandy, but anybody in league, you'd have to pretty much take 7 against Alabama right now, because Alabama's a team that looks like a 17 to 20 points a game team. And you got to figure Ole Miss will figure out a way to score a couple of touchdowns just off Dart in that running game. I would say Ole Miss to me looks like a very solid spot. If, it's one of those they're messing with your head kind of numbers. It's sort of like the Florida State Clemson line. Clemson obviously in week 1 looked disastrously bad against Duke. Florida State in week 1 looked like a national championship caliber team against LSU. Now we're a couple of weeks later, and Florida State's only laying 2 points on the road in Clemson. Obviously, we know Clemson is a difficult place to win over the years, and we know Clemson has rebounded a little bit. How much credit I want to give them for smacking around FAU? Not that much. But we're looking at not just a 2-point line, but a 2-point line that every time it ticks up to 2.5, immediately goes back down, which kind of tells you the sharp money is kind of on the Clemson side. and waiting for every tick up based on the public. So, yeah, we have a few mystery lines like that this week. Again, both games, there's pretty much no result that would surprise me with these matchups, simply because we did actually say this in the preseason. It's one thing we got a little bit right, was that this is kind of a mystery year in college football. This is not what we've gotten used to over the last decade, where like beginning of the year, predict 4 teams, 3 of them are going to make the playoff, and one of them is going to win the national title. I think that it's much more distributed. 3 weeks in, I could still probably make a case for 12 or 14 teams to be your national champion. So, a lot of mystery even here in week 4. And I think that's why we're seeing some of the lines that we're seeing, even though they're kind of head scratchers, again, including your Seminoles. I think despite the very poor showing at Boston College, let's be honest, that Boston College game reeked of crap.
Indiana game is so annoying.
That blue
I hate that fucking game.
blue banana week where BC somehow plays 10 times. The same team that totally shit the bed against Northern Illinois gives Florida State all they want for 4 quarters. I mean, what with a quarterback who nobody thought should be a quarterback when he was being recruited. Everybody thought he should be a safety. And yeah, I mean, it's just that year. I think we're going to see a lot of that this year, honestly.
Well,
We forget what happened in terms of actual the number of close calls. I mean, look, South Carolina dominated Georgia for a half. Yet Georgia came out in the second half and put it on them. USF gave Alabama all they wanted all the way. And then we have Texas and Wyoming went into the fourth quarter, still very much a ball game.
I mean, Notre Dame was 21-14 to Central freaking Michigan. Like that, yeah. Again, they pulled away, but it was close for a half.
Again, it could have very easily developed into a real chaos week. Luckily, a lot of top-ranked teams managed to escape.
So Sarni asked a question. I wanted to get to your plays in some of the more primetime games. You brought up Oregon, and I know how we touched on Notre Dame a bit with Hartman. There are 8 games today, and the team that you were very curious about, and I don't know if they struggled or not. I mean, Wisconsin is the kind of team that can win 12 games and feel like they struggled half the season. They play tonight, and they play a Purdue team that's not great. Were you with that game? Is there any action tonight? I know that's probably I
think there's 2 very live spots tonight. You've got Wisconsin at Purdue laying 5.5. We liked Wisconsin in the preseason. They took one on the chin in week 2 against Washington State, but watching the film, I'm not sure that was about Wisconsin being bad as much as Washington State is surprisingly good. They went and really bolstered that defense in the transfer portal, and they have that same strong run pass combo. So I'm not really that down on Wisconsin. I think they just lost a tough spot to a pretty good team. Purdue, I mean, Brom has managed to put some surprising offense together through the years there, but I don't love the quarterback. So yeah, I like Wisconsin laying the 5 and a hook. And then I think San Diego State at home is very live against Boise. Boise program-wise, nowhere close to where they have been, what we got kind of used to them being over the last couple of decades. San Diego State, yes, after the opening win at Ohio, have taken a couple. Look, I don't think there's a lot of shame in the fact that they lost a couple of big blowouts to UCLA and Oregon State on the road. Those are both pretty tough spots, to be honest. UCLA, one of those teams I'm sort of keeping my eye on. Very curious to see what they do against Utah, because if their defense can play against Utah the way they have through the first few weeks, UCLA is another one of those teams out of the Pac-12. I don't think anybody at the Pac-12 is going to be in the playoff because I think they're all going to beat the hell out of each other at home. But I think you got a bunch of teams, if they were in a different conference, could be playoff contenders. Just all happen to be grouped together, and UCLA might be one of them. So, again, I don't think there's any shame in the 2 that San Diego State have taken the last 2 weeks. I think they're more enough to give Boise plenty of trouble at home. I would take the 6.5 there.
All righty. So we got those games. Anything else? I know Ohio State Notre Dame is prime time. Oregon Colorado is not where you want.
Well, yeah, you wanted me to pick all the tough.
No, you can pick anything
you're
want.
You're gonna find out on the big board, but I'm not a Coach freaking Dion fan. Let's just put it that way.
What action do you have? Like, where are you going? Because I know it was hard for you to figure it out because a lot of these games could be really tight.
Okay, well, we're going to start obviously at the 3:30 spot that we talked about, and that is Ole Miss at Alabama. I can't see any justification against a quality team of laying 7 with Alabama right now. I think this is a name value only line. You look at the first 3 games Alabama has played. Yes, they smoked Middle Tennessee State, but they did it mostly on Middle Tennessee State mistakes. They didn't perform offensively against Texas. Honestly, they looked outmanned in every aspect of the game. To me, I thought they were lucky to only have it be a 10-point game. To be totally honest about it, and then they come back last week against USF and look really bad. Now, was some of that weather aided? Yes, it was. But Ole Miss, the defense looks better than it's been in a while. Obviously, maybe the best running back in the country. We could have the debate about who is the best running back, but he's certainly on the list. Jackson Dart has been very efficient in that offense, which is something we've seen with Lane Kiffin through the years, particularly with second-year guys. So I think Ole Miss is going to have an excellent chance to win this ball game, and I think taking 7 seems like a no-brainer there. Another one, a team I don't understand why they continue to be massively underrated, but it was 10. It's showing 9.5 now, and that's another 3:30 game. That's BYU at Kansas. I know everybody seems to be unusually high on Kansas because they slapped around Illinois a few weeks ago. Let's remember, they struggled with Nevada last week. They only won by 7 against Nevada. BYU, meanwhile, went to Arkansas, got off to a brutally tough start against Arkansas as Arkansas returned a punt right away to put them down early and managed to come back. This is nice BYU ball club getting 10, and it's not like Kansas is a historical football power here. So I would definitely look at that game and the Cougars getting 10. And then at night, we've got a couple of features. You could call these games either way. I'm going to stay away from the big name ones, although my inclination is that Notre Dame is actually better than Ohio State at this point. So I would be maybe looking if, you want to put together like a money line parlay or something. I think you could throw together like an Ole Miss and a Notre Dame, something along those lines. But I would look at a couple of spots. Number one, Texas. Only laying 14.5 against a miserable Baylor team. Dave Aranda, after getting off to a fantastic start, seems to have absolutely nothing working at Baylor. And I think Sark is probably going to start to put his foot down on Texas a little bit, open things up a little more. They did in the fourth quarter against Wyoming. I think that's going to keep being a trend. 14.5, obviously a big number. Might want to think about buying that down to 14. But I like Texas in that spot. And then I like Washington State at home against Oregon State. Oregon State, nice program. DJ Uiagalelei, obviously a nice talent, but we all know Pullman has been a brutal place for people to play over the years. So getting 3 at home, Washington State looks like a good spot to me.
All righty. So a lot of plays on the Professor card. It's a great slate of action, and I will definitely be tuning in.
I mean, this week is begging for everybody to what was it the Mad Dog said? He was going to on ESPN, he was going to get drunk and take some gummies and bet 10 games on Colorado. I don't agree on the Colorado part, but overall the game plan sounds pretty solid to me.
Well, speaking of Colorado, I feel like your big board, which comes up, may have a...
Can we talk about this? Because, this is another thing. We're 3 weeks into an exciting college football season, and all anybody can talk about is goddamn Colorado and Deion freaking Sanders. And I got to tell you, it is driving me a little crazy.
Well, I'm ready for what you have in store because I've been the one guy screaming, they're not that good.
All right, we're going to try to share the screen there. Can you see that? Hold on one second.
I got it right here. I got it. You're good.
All righty there. We got that. And that is this week's subject, the big board of the real Coach Prime.
Thank God.
Because I got to be honest, I was trying to remain neutral on the Deion thing. You kind of have to because all 3 Florida schools have kind of embarrassed themselves with Deion's success, Florida State among them. Of course, Deion didn't want to be an assistant coach or recruiting coordinator. He wanted to be the head coach of Florida State, which was probably not the greatest decision you could have possibly made. But I think we need to have some historical discussion because I'm talking to all these casuals. I don't know what else to call them, or all these non-college football fans who now have their head so far up Deion Sanders' ass that they can only see his gold fillings at this point. And I kept hearing about, What a great motivator. What a great coach. What a great leader of young men Deion Sanders is.
Fuck out of here.
And now we get a question from Julian. Is Colorado top 10 if they beat Oregon? Colorado might be number 1 if they beat Oregon. Fortunately, that's not going to happen. Fortunately, Bo Nix is going to save America from Colorado.
Bo Nix.
But yes, they will definitely be in the top 10. I mean, honestly, Colorado might be top 5 if they beat Oregon. That's how much momentum these people have at this point. God, I know. Did every rapper in the world show up for that game against Colorado freaking State? I got to tell you, this was the one thing that before we get in the bit where that drove me nuts about this game. Everybody wanted the blood of this white safety from Colorado State for hitting Travis Hunter. I saw on Twitter 4 different people who had blue check marks. People who cover college football were like, that's the cheapest hit I've ever seen in the history of football. How long have you been watching football? Like 2 years? Number one, if you have a white safety out there, that's what he's there to do. That's what white safeties have been around for 50 years, is by hitting cheap shots into people's chests. John Lynch got into the Hall of freaking Fame by hitting people in the chest, usually late. I mean, come on. That's what a white safety's there for. He's not there to run around, play center field, and make pickoffs. That's the Ed Reeds of the world. That's not the white safeties. Every white safety who's ever played has been dirty, much dirtier than that hit.
Oh, the hit was not dirty. That's the thing. That's what's annoying about that whole backlash. It was late. But the actual hit, it wasn't like he decapitated the guy. Like, it was a legal hit to the chest of a guy that's super thin, so it made it look way worse. It was just, and it wasn't even that late. It wasn't like he was out of bounds talking to his coach. Like, it was bang, bang. Like,
okay, that's number one, is that the hatred of the Colorado State kid.
Yeah.
And number two, what the fuck? Every celebrity in the world showed up to Boulder, Colorado for a 10 o'clock start against Colorado. Kawhi Leonard showed. Kawhi Leonard doesn't even show up for Clippers games. Kawhi Leonard only shows up for like 60 Clippers games a year, and they pay him $50 million a year to do it. And he randomly shows up on the sidelines of Boulder, Colorado. Every rapper, most of whom I've never even heard of at this point, I felt old as hell. And The Rock, a UM guy. Like, what the hell's a Miami guy doing at a Deion Sanders game?
He's like donated money to UM. Like,
I think the practice field is named after him.
It is.
And he's showing up at a Deion. I don't get it. What the hell is going on? Where did Deion Maven? So let's remind you some things about Coach Prime. And that starts with number 5, that Coach Prime is and always has been a draft day killer. Let's remember when Dez Bryant was the sophomore at Oklahoma State, he was a lock top 3 draft pick. He was one of the best underclassmen wide receivers anybody had ever seen. He did like 5 workouts at Deion Sanders' house. He got suspended for the year, and his draft status dropped so much that he had to actually listen to Jeff Ireland ask him if his mom was a crack whore. That's what Deion Sanders did to Dez Bryant's professional career. And let's remember Noel Devine, who had one of the greatest high school mixtapes I've ever seen of any running back. I don't think Noel Devine got drafted. I think Noel Devine went straight out of West Virginia to the Canadian League, all because of Deion Sanders' involvement, because Deion told him, don't worry about your grades. So he had to go to freaking West Virginia. He had offers from everybody in the country. He had to go to West Virginia because he couldn't get the grades to go anywhere else. So he had to, go major in coal mining and the Draw the Pirate or the Turtle program they have for football players at West Virginia. He is a draft day killer, and you are seeing it right now because he's obviously attempting to get Travis Hunter killed.
Yes.
Like, clearly, Deion, when he was recruiting, was like, oh, shit, this kid is good enough that he might actually make people forget about me. He might go as the greatest corner of all time. I'm going to recruit him, force him to play 150 plays a game, and have him get literally murdered during his college career. I'm going to make sure he is physically incapable of being a first-round draft pick. He's going to show up to the combine in Indianapolis in a wheelchair, thanks to me. This is what Deion Sanders does to your draft day, folks.
That's a shame. That's is number 5. I'm so happy about this big board.
Number 4, and everybody else seems to love this. I don't get it at all. And that is, he's gone from MC Hammer to dressing like Charlie fucking Pride from the 70s.
Why is he a cowboy?
Does anybody, when they think of Colorado, think of cowboys? No, I think of weed. Like, does anybody like go to Denver and we like expect a rodeo and horses? No, you go to a Rockies game and you get stoned. Like, who thinks of like, honestly, it's like Dion didn't know anything about the West, and he watched episodes of Yellowstone and was like, I'm going to start to dress like Kevin Costner. Which, again, it's kind of sort of 2023 cool, where he used to be 1980s, 1990s cool. But like, Kevin Costner's a 75-year-old white guy. Like, my mom has a crush on Kevin Costner. I don't know a lot of like 25-year-old rap video girls who are running around and go, ooh, Yellowstone, Kevin Costner, that gets me going. But Dion has clearly decided that's the look for Boulder, Colorado. I think Boulder, I think like hippie girls and drugs and all sorts of party stuff. I don't think I'm going to go rope a calf, but apparently that's what Dion thinks. Shows up, he wears the cowboy hat like full time now. He did interviews wearing overalls. Again, you've flashed back from where it used to be MC Hammer to like Glenn Campbell, the rhinestone cowboy, for some reason. I don't get this look transformation from Coach Prime, even in a little bit.
I love he's been in Dallas for like 25 years. Isn't that where actual cowboys are? That's why they're called the goddamn cowboys. And
right, but did he run around in a goddamn cowboy outfit?
No,
is that one? No.
Coke. Suddenly now he's a cowboy.
Exactly. Now he's, like I said, look at this outfit. He looks like Kevin Costner in Yellowstone. You expect him to, try to steal land from an Indian tribe or something the way he's dressed. Gonna go make the buffalo extinct. I don't get what he's going for with this whole I went to Colorado and I became a cowboy look. I maybe I'm missing something and there's some weird association between the state of Colorado and cowboys. I don't really think of Colorado. I mean, I don't think of that when I think of Colorado. I could be wrong. But
that's number 4.
Number 3. Let's remember everything that Dion has touched in the music industry has been instant death. I want to flash you back.
I forgot
to the summer of 1990. I was a senior in high school, getting ready to go in college in the summer of 1990, and I can tell you could not fucking escape MC Hammer if you left the continental United States. Like you had to go to Canada not to hear goddamn You Can't Touch This that entire summer. I went on a school trip where they played You Can't Touch This for 4 consecutive fucking hours on loop. It's just a cassette single playing over and over again. That's how big goddamn MC Hammer is. Flash forward 2 years later, and what happened to MC Hammer? He associated with Dion.
An Atlanta song.
He did Too Legit to Quit, and everybody in America realized he sucked at the same time. You know how much money goddamn MC Hammer lost thanks to Deion Sanders trying to glom on to MC Hammer? A fucking fortune. The guy went broke and had to do reality TV show because Dion had to insert himself with that Too Legit. I can't remember. Too Legit to Quit. Yeah, you tried to do that. You tried to make it cool. And what happened, Dion? MC Hammer started getting made fun of by third base. You know what third base does now? I think the one is a rabbi and the other one runs the goddamn Boston Red Sox museum. That's how uncool those two were. But for a solid year, they got to ridicule MC Hammer nationally. That's what you did. And that isn't even Dion's worst musical sin, because let's remember, he also tried to do his own career with
Did he rap?
Yes, he tried to do a rap album, which was Must Be the Money, which honestly went over almost as well as Allen Iverson's musical career.
You're like Shaq.
And that's not the worst part of it, because let's remember the worst low moment for Deion Sanders in terms of a music career. This, by the way, is a lesson all the rappers who showed up in Boulder last week should learn, because this man is a musical career killer. Okay? The Seminole rap. The Seminole rap when Florida State was ranked number 1 in 1988 in preseason and lost the opening game to Miami by 30 points, while Deion played the worst career game of his college career. And then what happened 2 weeks later? an unknown senior at Southern Mississippi named Brett Favre
Oh,
put
God.
it on Florida State. That's what Deion's music did to the preseason #1 Florida State Seminoles. I'm just warning. I think it was Offset that was there, and Future, and a bunch of other rappers. Stay the hell away from Boulder, Colorado. If you are in the music business, this man is pure poison. This man makes Shaq's movie career look like box office gold. Deion's music career to Shaq's movie career, Shazam, would have been a pure platinum. Again, people forget how big MC Hammer was. MC Hammer was the biggest musician on the planet.
Yeah.
Every corporation in America wanted MC Hammer and his Hammer Pants to do commercials for them. And then Deion inserted himself, and America was like, screw, I don't want anything more to do with MC Hammer.
That's number 3.
Number 2, if you are a parent thinking about sending your children to Colorado to be developed under Deion Sanders, I would like to remind you, Deion Sanders is a guy who power ranks his own children.
Yeah, you did.
And the highest football player is number 3. The son who runs his Instagram account gets #1 over Shador, who's carrying his sorry ass for 3 weeks. Now, the only reason Colorado's not 0-3 is because of Shador, and he can still only rank number 3 on Deion's power ranking list. Shiloh returned to pick 6 and caused a fumble. Again, saved his ass, and he's number 5 on the power. Where do you think your children are going to rank for Deion? Shiloh had a pick 6 that rescued that game, and he's last. Where do you think Travis Hunter ranks? Because it ain't that freaking high. I'm just saying, I'm not sure I trust the man who power ranks his own children, and I definitely don't trust the man who power ranks his own children, and the guy who runs the social media accounts is ahead of the starting quarterback.
He doesn't even do it right.
I mean, the quarterback was having a Heisman year, only ranks 3. Imagine once he throws a couple of picks where he's going to be.
It's fucked.
Gotta pretend he doesn't exist.
My favorite is he not only does the power rankings, he actually breaks it down. He's like, well, Shador's coming up in the rankings. We need to watch out for Deion Sanders Jr. He needs that #1 spot's not locked. I'm like, dude, these are your kids. I'm like,
right? Again, if you're a parent hearing that, is this the guy you really want to send your children to?
What the fuck, man?
Again, Travis Hunter's out this week. Where is he on the Colorado power rankings? Is he like number 60 now because he got injured?
Well, doesn't he have daughters? So the daughters don't even break the top 5?
Oh, no, the daughters are there. I think Shalomi and DeAndre are the daughters.
Okay. Oh, DeAndre. Okay. There you go. All right, good. I was like, they don't have a chance. All right, that's number
Again,
2.
it's the ones who play for him who don't seem to have a chance. Like, what more can Shador do? They throw for like 400 yards a game. Like, how do I get into the top 2, Dad? And that takes us to #1 with the one thing we like to remind you about Deion Sanders, and everybody seems to have forgotten it because we have really abandoned this decade. But Deion Sanders was the most 1980s athlete of all 1980s athletes.
Jerry Curl, man.
Look at the picture. The Jerry Curl, the brick phone, all the big fake gold. This is Deion Sanders on draft day. Honestly, is Deion Sanders the only man in America who got forgiven for the Jerry Curl? Like, literally, anybody else who wore a Jerry Curl for 5 seconds in the late 1980s can never live it down. Deion wore that Jerry Curl well into his Atlanta Falcons years, and nobody ever brings it up anymore. I don't understand it. And not that I'm trying to criticize it because it's a remarkable feat for anybody, but let's remember, Deion, you were not Bo Jackson. Like, Bo was great at both. You were not that great a baseball player. You did both, but you kind of glommed onto it after Bo got hurt and tried to make it your thing when it was distinctly not your thing. It was definitely Bo's thing, and you kind of copied. But really, look at this. The brick phone, the Jerry Curl, the fake $sign diamond earring. You can't get more 1980s than this man is. He is the ultimate. Like, I mean, honestly, I'm trying to think of what could be more 1980, like Bill Cosby, maybe. Like, maybe he could have been wearing a Cosby sweater. I don't know how you could be more 1980s than Deion Sanders. Even the glasses. Like, has anybody worn those in the last 40 years?
No.
He has really Mr. 1980s. He probably should have been left in that decade, if we're being honest about it. But that is number one for Deion Sanders, is let's remember him in his 1980s style glory.
I concur. I'm a big fan of this power rankings. It's really all the things I've been saying about Colorado, and I am happy that they're finally getting into the heart of the Pac-12 schedule because it's goddamn murderer's row. So
can we also acknowledge he doesn't know shit about football? Like every interview he gives, he makes it very clear, like, I don't participate in any meetings with the coordinators. They ask him questions at halftime. Oh, we got to play harder and blah, blah. Come on, dude. Like, just say, I don't know. Go ask the offensive coordinator what we're going to do in the second half. Because I don't do any of that. I just yell and scream at the kids. That's my role.
100%. He's definition of figurehead, and he's not in his 80s. At least Bobby was in his 70s when he became a figurehead. Like this dude, I've said that the whole time. I'm like, why would you want him as a coach? He's a rah-rah guy, and that's fine. So let him be like some kind of a position on the team, but a head coach. He's got to do some coaching. Like you never see him coaching. Never. You never.
This is my thing. Like the last big rah-rah coach we see to have any say was Coach O. Coach O has a national title and can't get a job.
Yes.
Right? But somehow Deion is the hottest name in America. And all it really is like the hip-hop Coach O. Yes. And Coach O is more entertaining, if I'm being honest about it.
I think Coach O knows more football.
And Coach O has not killed MC Hammer's career the way Deion did. People forget. MC Hammer owned a horse that won the Florida Derby. Like that next year, thanks to Deion, that horse was owned by like a repo company. Thanks, Deion. Dance floor is now sitting in a storage yard because they had to seize it from MC Hammer. Thanks, Deion. Killed my career.
We love you, Professor. Another great big board. I'll recap his plays later on the show.
Here we go. We're too legit to quit.
There you go. Have a good one. We'll talk to you next Friday.
Go Ducks. Come on, Bo Nix.
Oh, please, Bo Nix. Please.
Yeah, let's put like 70 on Deion this week.
70 to 15 would be great. Another great big board from the Professor. When we get back, we will move on to more handicapping prowess with the one and only Mark Lawrence on today's edition of the Defo Show without Defo, just a little bit here on South Florida Live.
Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar, and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Are you looking to buy your first home? Have you been turned down for a loan? Do you need to refinance or get money out of your home? Call Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. He's been helping the South Florida community get mortgages for 30 years.
Hi, this is Michael Kotsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. We have the most competitive fixed rates in the market. Call me 24/7, 561-441-2730. And remember, I don't just work banking hours. To make the right choice for your home, call Choice Mortgage today.
Hi, guys. If I could squeeze in two. One is just, can you say with certainty that Jimmy Garoppolo will be on the roster on Sunday?
I can't guarantee that anybody in the world will be alive Sunday, so I can't guarantee who will be on our roster on Sunday. So that goes for all of us.
From South Florida to the entire world, thank you to the iHeartRadio app. Here is Defo joined by Lubie on The Defo Show.
I don't know if we can guarantee if people will be alive. I don't get in that business. But I can guarantee you'll learn something, get some great knowledge, and have some fun with our next handicapper, the one and only world championship handicapper, Mark Lawrence, joins us once again here on the morning show. Good morning, Mark. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing just super, Lubie. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I had a great trip, but there's nothing like some point spreads in the morning, as Defo likes to say. After 3 straight weekends of sort of college football action, we have a fantastic slate this Saturday. I know as a handicapper may be tough because a lot of these matchups are pretty close, but for you, a guy who loves the barking dogs, there's a lot of nice plays, tasty plays on the dog side of things. And the NFL, it's a lot of hit or miss this weekend. So I'm super stoked to hear what you have for us this weekend when it comes to the football world.
Well, as you mentioned, last week was kind of like a dry, barren desert run as far as matchups are concerned. There wasn't a game that had a top 25 matchup between any team. This week, we've got 7 of them, which is really, really attractive. And when you're handicapping, you like to pair good teams. It's like horse racing. You like to watch horses that are good racehorses racing against one another. You want good teams playing good teams, handicapping these football games. I'm going to use a couple of double-digit dogs this week in college football that each won the stats. Were 100 yards, yet lost the game. I'm calling these double-fisted dogs.
Double-fisted dogs.
They won 100 yards of the game last week, but they lost the game, and they're coming up double-digit dogs this week. One of these two, I think, can win the game straight up. That's how well I think these dogs can do this particular week. First one's going to be Cincinnati, taking 14 against Oklahoma at home. And this is the debut of Cincinnati in the Big 12 Conference. And it's my feeling that with Oklahoma leaving the conference next year to head out to the SEC, that I think every home team in this conference is going to be out for Oklahoma and Texas for bailing out on the conference. I think Oklahoma will pay that price here. Cincinnati last week lost in overtime at home. They won by 180 yards in the contest. In Oklahoma, you can take a look at them. The last 8 times they've gone out as a conference road favorite. They've only won the money 1 time. I think Cincinnati plus the 14 is a good side in that football game.
So starting out there with the team that used to be in the AAC, now supposed to be a banner of franchise for the Big 12 going forward as OU's leaving. Cincinnati, no Luke Fickell, plus 14 or thereabouts over OU. That's where Mark Lawrence starts. What do we got next, my friend?
Next, we're going to go to the Southeast Conference with a juicy dog, Arkansas, taking 18 points against LSU. Arkansas lost last week, 38-31 at home to BYU, but the Hogs won the yards by 143 yards in the contest. So, you like these double-digit dogs that did the job on the field but didn't do it on the scoreboard. They don't get any respect coming back, and that's exactly the case for Arkansas here. And we're going to fade LSU in the same token here. If you look at them the last 9 times in conference openers when they've been home favorites, they've only won the money 0 times. They haven't cashed in any of those. So we'll play Arkansas plus the 18 for our second play in college football.
All righty. That's Cincinnati over OU, Arkansas over LSU. Anything else on the college football slate, Lawrence?
Well, I'll say this, that you got such an attractive card this particular week. You have to scratch your head and wonder, what's Clemson doing as a home underdog this week? What's Notre Dame doing as a home underdog this week? The favorites, warrant being favorites. There's no question. But I'm just going to throw a caution warning out there that the last 14 times that Dabo Swinney, Clemson have been at home against an undefeated opponent, they've won all 14 games. It's a big, big game for both teams here, but I think it's a bigger game for Clemson. Just a little food for thought in that contest.
All righty. Any thoughts on the two games that are interesting to me? You brought up Notre Dame, Ohio State. The other one's Alabama, Ole Miss. Like, it feels like the two programs are favored because of years past. If you had watched Notre Dame this year, if you've watched Ole Miss this year, both look like better ball clubs right now than Ohio State and Alabama to me.
Yeah, things aren't going swimmingly well for Alabama for sure. And Mississippi appears to be a program on the rise. My problem is sometimes that we don't bet the dog because the favorite has got a lot working for it.
Yeah.
And rather than go to the favorite, we'll just stay out of the dog. I'm going to stay out of Mississippi in this game. You got Lou Saban at home here against a former coach, and whenever he's taken on a former coach that is undefeated, he's never lost. Nick Saban hasn't. And you also remember, he lost his last previous home game. It's very seldom you'll find him lose 2 consecutive home games in a row. I think you'll see a much different Alabama team this Saturday.
All right. So laying out of Ohio State, Notre Dame, laying out of Alabama, Ole Miss, Cincinnati, Arkansas, Clemson, or at least a lean for Clemson are the plays for Mark Lawrence in the college football world. Anything you want to touch when it comes to the NFL?
Well, the NFL, we're going to take a look at 2 dogs that are 0-2 straight up, and they lost to the spread both football games.
Okay.
Both as favorites, they lost by the way. And that situation in itself is a terrific game 3 angle. Those teams who do just that, they're 16-2 against the spread when they come back in game 3. And you got 2 of them on the card this particular week. I'm going to call them double down dogs.
Okay.
These are dogs that are down, but we're going to double down on them. Being in the situation that they are, they lost as a favorite both of those football games. The first is going to be the LA Chargers. They're taking 1 at Minnesota. And you've got a Minnesota football team that's paying the penance for what they did last year when they won 13 games, yet were out-yarded and outscored for the season. They won a lot of games with smoke and mirrors last year. They have no running game whatsoever. They're only averaging 35 rushing yards a game, are the Vikings here. I like the Chargers in this particular football game. Also, you take a look at what they've done here of late. When they've lost as a favorite, they bounced back and won 8 of the last 9 games. I think the Chargers plus the 1 is a good side, that Minnesota game.
Well, and they're desperate. I mean, that's a team that really has enough talent to contend for a Super Bowl in an AFC that's wide open with the Chargers right now, a little shaky. And they just have had 2 tough beats with their wonderful coach, Brandon Staley. Like, if anyone's desperate, it's the freaking Chargers. All right, so you got the Chargers right now. I have them getting 1 over Minnesota. What else on the NFL tickles you?
Well, this one you and the listeners are not going to like because we both happen to reside down here in South Florida. Okay. But we're going to play Denver plus the 6.5 against Miami this week. And, for the wonderful job and everything good that Miami's done this season, I tip my hat. They've done a great job offensively. But, now they come off of a pair of road wins and open up at home game 1 and game 3. That's not a good situation for home teams, by the way. But more than that, this is a Denver football team that lost its first 2 games as favorites, and now they change roles and they come up the underdog in this contest. And I can assure you that Sean Payton is pissed at what's going on with the Denver Broncos right now. He was hired to turn that program around, laid some points at home and got beat embarrassingly in the contest here. You're going to see a much different Denver Bronco team down here. And I just only hope Miami isn't reading the headlines. I think Denver plus the 6.5 is a good side.
Well, the spread's so big, the Dolphins can still win. That's all. Most people don't give a crap about the spread. We just care about the spread. Right. So you can get a win, no cover if you're the Dolphins, and you'll be happy, and Dolphins fans will be happy. It does seem like an interesting spot. 0-2 can be scary. Like when a team's 0-2, a lot of the time it's like, oh, okay. Like they have everything like their season's on a brink, and the Dolphins, that's definitely not the case. All right, you got Chargers, you got Denver. Anything else, my Mr. Fan of the Dogs?
Well, the fan of the dog, obviously, we're going to look for those live dogs. One comment I'll make here is that we were going to go to Vegas this particular week. Pittsburgh played such a phony game against Cleveland. They win the game. They got beat 150 yards in the stats. They didn't even reach Cleveland's 30-yard line in the whole football game, and somehow they won the game. And they opened up as a favorite at Vegas. But now Vegas got wise real quick, and they flipped that to Vegas being the favorite here. So this is one of these cautionary dogs in Pittsburgh that I would absolutely stay out of. They're a football team right now that has no offense whatsoever, no identity whatsoever. And I'll be looking to make cases to fade them more often than not in the football games moving forward with Pittsburgh.
Yeah, it feels weird. Like people got really excited about Pickett, and I still don't know why.
I don't either.
I've watched a lot of them, and yes, they did almost beat the Dolphins last year, but it wasn't because of Pickett. So,
and look at his stats last year, Lubie. His stats, they were horrific. I mean, I think he had like 7 touchdown passes and 9 interceptions and most QB ratings in the league. I think they're just enamored with him for the fact that he's a hometown Pittsburgh product.
Yes.
And, they want to see him succeed. And I think it'll end up being a mistake having drafted him that high in the draft and making him their starting quarterback. And I want to pass this one note along to you, if I may.
Yeah, of course.
I do a weekly podcast, and I had the distinct pleasure of interviewing on my podcast this week Billy Walters.
Oh, nice. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was terrific. Such a fine gentleman he is. I mean, he and I have a lot in common. We both grew up very poor and married girls from down in the South, and have a love for sports and everything. If you get a chance, it's on my website at playbooksports.com. You can either watch my podcast or you can watch just the Billy Walters segment. And if you watch the segment, you're going to learn a whole lot more than you knew before you watched the segment.
Well, what's cool about him is everyone now is starting, people who've never heard of him are criticizing him because of the book, but I don't want to say degenerate, real handicappers, not the people that do the gambling, but the actual handicappers, people like you that we respect, all hold him in super high esteem. So it's not like he's just some jerk off, right? That's trying to get after Phil. It's the opposite. Phil was around him. He's the icon in this story when it comes to gambling and degeneracy. He's the actual icon because he's the dude that's not only put all this money up, but he wins, and he wins at a ridiculous clip, supposedly, from what I've heard.
He's the godfather. There's no question about that. And in this book, if you get the book, I can guarantee you that you pick it up, you are not going to put it down. Okay. It's going to be a fast, right through read because he exposes everything. He tells you how he does things, his methods, and he really gets into the Phil Mickelson part of the thing. And I asked him a little bit. I'll throw this at you. I was interviewing about Phil Mickelson, and I didn't want to ask him incriminating questions about Phil Mickelson. That wasn't the purpose, But I said, I understand that you golf with Phil a lot, and you guys had quite a few matches. How many strokes did Phil Mickelson give you? And it was kind of strange. He was 60 years old, and here's Billy Walters, and Phil Mickelson's giving him 6 and 7, 6 in the front, 7 on the back.
Really?
And if you stop and think about that, that's Phil Mickelson giving you 6 and 7. So Billy Walters himself is a pretty good golfer. The guy owns, I think, 8 golf courses and 6 car dealerships. Wow. But he is a pretty strong golfer to only get 6 and 7 from Phil Mickelson. I thought that was kind of unique.
Well, I'm jealous that you were able to get him. I've been thinking about trying to book him. We've been on vacation, so I may have to ask you for some contact info because he seems very interesting. And a lot of people have come down on him. Defo and I are the opposite. We're like, wow, anyone we've talked to that is in this world of loving sports wagering holds him in super high esteem. So good for you. Great get. And that's a conversation I think anyone should check out. I'm looking forward to it. Again, is it what? Playbooksports.com? Is that where they go to check it out?
Playbooksports.com. Right on the homepage, there's a video where I interview Billy Walters. It's 25 minutes.
Nice.
It's really one of the fastest 25 minutes that you'll spend, and you'll learn a lot, I guarantee you.
Mark, we appreciate your time. Everyone, you should check out that conversation, playbooksports.com, and check out this man's plays all weekend long at playbooksports.com. Mark, we appreciate your time. Look forward to talking to you next week. Thank you, my friend.
Hey, Lubie, have a great time. Good week, and best of luck to you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. The one and only Mark Lawrence. I will recap his plays. I was going to end the show at about now because this is where we try to end it, but this man demanded his piece, and who am I to cut a person like Mike Mayo short? So we now welcome, before we get out of here, the man who sits in the host chair every day, Monday through Friday from 12 o'clock on. Today, he'll be doing it from one of our favorite locations all across South Florida, Gulfstream Park. Good morning, Mr. Walk of Life, Mike Mayo.
Yeah, good morning, Lubie. I know you've got a very hectic morning. You got to walk the dogs. You got to do the no filter show. But, I was a good boy this morning. I was playing poker late. I got trying to make it to day 2 of one of these multi-day events at the Hard Rock. Field of 222 was playing down to 23 players.
Wow.
And of course, I got knocked out as player number 29, 6 away. So I was there till 1:40 in the morning for nothing. But look at this discipline. I got up. I did my little abbreviated walk of life, 2.5 miles. And then you said, because you said, come on. And so now I have to say my piece. I have my yogurt, and I got to just start this morning by saying, Mark Lawrence, he better watch out. He's talking about double fisting and juicy dogs. Moms for Liberty is going to come out after him and try to get him banned. I mean, you got bestiality, you got all these fisting things. What is going on here? And that gets me started with, I don't talk politics or anything else on the lunchbox, so I love getting my little shot here because is there any hideously misnamed group out there that would make George Orwell just spin in his grave than Moms for Liberty? And did you see the shit they're pulling this week where they're going around to different school boards reading objectionable, what they consider, pornographic, obscene material? Because there's some new law that says if they get cut off at a school board meeting reading something, that then those books must automatically be banned. Did you catch that story?
No.
It's fucking insanity. So they're getting up these people who supposedly hate anything obscene, and they're reading these out of context passages from these books that have been read forever by middle schoolers, the Judy Blume books and the things like that. And then because of the rules, that they're talking about things at these workshops where there isn't open public comment about anything, and that any public comment has to relate to the material and the agenda, and then they're getting cut off for that, but they're using that as a pretext saying, they cut us off, this book must be banned. So really, the name of the group, instead of Moms for Liberty, should be Frigid Fascists for Censorship, because that's what they are. They're just going around trying, and I got news for them. All of their kids are on their phones looking at porn all day, and not only that, they might even be producing porn themselves. So.
Well, that's like what's funny is that the stuff they want to get banned isn't even pornographic. It's all like American classics, where it's like, who cares?
And it's Judy Blume talking about the wonders of clitoral stimulation for prepubescent or pubescent girls. I mean, that's just part of life. I mean, these parents are so offended by natural things, sex. It's in the Bible, folks. All that sex stuff is in the Bible. And meanwhile, they're not offended about kids being able to go buy semi-automatic weapons and shooting up schools. So,
I was going to say, the stuff they're okay with is the stuff that's really scary. Like that's the stuff that they're missing is the stuff that's really scary.
It's crazy. Hey, I know you got to walk the dog, but one thing I know you've been talking a lot about, and I'm sorry, I'm eating again the Mayo lunchbox mode. Yogurt with fruit, everybody. I'm doing well. You mentioned the Clemson FSU game. I don't know if you realize, but I started I started off as an intern at the Boston Globe, the sports department, but my first full-time job in journalism and sports journalism was at the Spartanburg Herald Journal, which is actually one of the papers closest to Clemson.
Oh, wow.
And so I have been to Death Valley many times. I don't want to say it's like deep South backwoods, but the directions to get to Clemson, I don't know if people realize this, but from Atlanta, you have to just take I-85 east, and then you go on US 76 north. Then you take a left past the grinning, toothless banjo player, and then you bang a right at the Burning Cross. So, it's very easy to get to Death Valley. And it is a little bit of a, I don't want to say that it's backwoods or backwards or anything like that, but it makes Appalachian State look like a woke enclave of progressivism. Frank Howard. No, Frank Howard and the Howard's Rock. It is an intimidating atmosphere. I do actually, I agree with the professor. It's a good stack he had about Dabo, and I just think, I just don't see FSU being a favorite. I just thought it was going to be Pick'em to Clemson by 1 and a hook or something like that. It seems like a sucker line. I don't know. I mean, maybe FSU is really vastly superior. Maybe Clemson is really on the downside. But based on what we saw last week, where they get a scare against Boston College, I like Clemson in this spot. I hate to do it to you, Lubie. But and then that it is that sunken stadium. It's kind of carved out of this valley. They run down the hill. They pet that Howard's Rock, and I don't know if people know that Coach Frank Howard. It was a classic 20th century Southern coach. He was named to the AP's all racist team. It's unbelievable. The guys he just did not like let's say people of certain colors or certain religious persuasion. One of it's just it was a different era, I guess, back then. But
I feel like it's the same area there now.
Well, yeah, the ghosts have been wakened by certain forces. But be that as it may, it is a tough place to win. I do wish all the luck in the world to your Knowles, but if I had a bet, I would be betting on Clemson. And it's also scary that that Mark went. He said it on the record, going with the Broncos over the Dolphins for various reasons. I do fear that it's a letdown game. It's kind of a game that the Dolphins really now don't have to win, and even in order to stay atop the AFC East. However, I think just based on paper and what we've seen so far on the actual level of play, I mean, Denver fucking blew a huge lead at home against Washington and lost kind of in the worst possible way. And all right, so maybe they've shown that they do have some offensive prowess, but I don't know. I just think maybe the Dolphins are as good as they look, and maybe they will romp and actually cover. But it's a game I wouldn't touch, if I had to bet it. So anyway, that's it. Go.
Well, you
go
talked
walk
about places that were hard to find. A place that's very easy to find. We'll be there in 3 hours at 12 o'clock right here on South Florida Live. Gulfstream Park. Check out this week's edition of Mike Mayo's Lunchbox. The 10 Palm Brunch Challenge is very popular, even though Defo and I still don't really understand it. So good luck to today's combatants, and we appreciate everyone who tunes into that show, and we appreciate your time. Thank you for cutting short your walk of life to join us.
2.5 miles today, even though I was, not in bed till 2:30 and only got like 4 or 5 hours of sleep. But I got up and out this morning. I'm moving my ass. I'm trying to be good. It's the new Mayo.
I'm proud of you. You're eating. You're living healthy and not fucking with our eating. That's a win. So enjoy the rest of your morning, and we'll see you in a couple hours, Mayo Man. I appreciate everyone who checked us out this morning. Yes, again, 12 o'clock, Mike Mayo's Lunchbox on a Gulfstream Park Friday. I think Tony Segredo may be back with us and other South Florida legends as well. Appreciate the Greek for joining me, the Professor, and Mark Lawrence. If you want to hear their plays once again, if you did miss their action, the Greek likes Mississippi getting 7 over Alabama. He likes Notre Dame getting 3 over Ohio State. He does like Florida State laying 2 over Clemson. NFL, he likes the Browns getting back in the winning ways, laying 3 over Tennessee. He likes New England laying 2 over the Jets. He says Zach Wilson sucks. And he likes Detroit to get back to their winning ways, laying 3 over Atlanta. The Professor, with his college football plays, he had a lot of them. Wisconsin, who's been riding into this season, he's still sticking with them after a tough game with Washington State, laying 5 over Purdue. San Diego State tonight. These are both tonight, these games. San Diego State getting 7 over Boise. And then on the big Saturday slate, Ole Miss, he also agrees with the Greek, getting 7 over Alabama. He likes BYU getting 10 over Kansas. He likes Texas laying 14 to Baylor. And talking about Washington State, Washington State getting 3 over Oregon State. There's the Professor plays, and Mark Lawrence, who you just heard. He also, when it comes to college football, like Cincinnati getting 14 over Oklahoma, Arkansas getting 18 over LSU, and he is leaning, because Clemson is a home dog and they're good in that spot again. What I will say to Mike Mayo and Mark Lawrence, those were different teams. Every streak at some point gets broken, and Clemson's defense is good. It's not elite. Their skill position talent's way down, and their quarterback play has been a disaster. That's why I'm pretty confident in my Knowles. No, I'm not bragging. I have my anxiety still, my nervousness, but that's why I'm pretty confident. Yeah, Dabo's great at home. Yeah, because Dabo had Trevor Lawrence and Deshaun Watson. Like, this is not the same team, but they are a home dog. It is a tough place to play. Mark Lawrence likes Clemson getting 3 over Florida State in the NFL. His double down dog theory. Teams that were favorites, lost as favorites, are now dogs. Los Angeles Chargers getting 1 over Minnesota. Denver getting 7 over our Miami Dolphins. And Las Vegas Raiders getting 3 over Pittsburgh. The Pittsburgh Steelers. Those are our plays for the weekend. Hopefully everyone has a great weekend of football action. And we will check you out. Check us again, 12 o'clock, coming to you from Gulfstream Park, Mike Mayo's Lunchbox. Check us out. We will not be here Monday. We will be observing the Yom Kippur. By we, I mean me. Defo and Mayo, I don't think will be. But I will be observing the Yom Kippur holiday. I will be fasting my frustration away. And my wife, it's her favorite day of the year. The Lubitzes and the Bohadanas don't eat all day. So at night, we just are a feeding frenzy. This time, that day, I will be trying to sleep the fasting away. So no shows Monday, but we'll be back Tuesday at 8 a.m. Our new time Tuesday, not Monday, Tuesday, 8 a.m. We start our new time right here. The Defo Show with Defo and Lubie here on South Florida Live. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my show.